When soldiers marched through the muddy fields of France in 1914, their survival depended not only on courage, but on what they carried. Each man bore a load that could mean the difference between freezing or staying alive, starving or eating well, collapsing or marching another mile. The First World War pushed human endurance to its limits, and in doing so it sparked the evolution of one of the most enduring concepts in modern survival and exploration: the camp kit. What began as a military necessity would, decades later, shape the foundation of backpacking as we know it today. The tools, methods and mindset developed in those trenches and bivouacs would teach future adventurers how to live light, travel far, and endure the elements with minimal means. The First World War forced soldiers to master compact, efficient survival. During WWI, every ounce of equipment mattered. Soldiers had to carry everything: rations, tools, weapons and shelter, often across miles of brutal terrain. The British and American armies quickly learned that bulky gear could kill morale and slow movement. What evolved was a new way of thinking about personal logistics: how to carry one's entire living system on one's back. A standard British soldier's pack in 1915 weighed between 60 and 80 pounds when fully loaded. Inside were essentials: a mess tin, rations, a ground sheet, a greatcoat, a blanket, spare socks, and, personal tools for cleaning rifles or digging trenches. Early on, this load was carried in awkward heavy satchels. But as the war progressed, engineers refined them into better designs, like the Pattern 1908 webbing system, a modular network of canvas pouches and straps that, evenly distributed weight around the body. This was revolutionary. It transformed the human body into a balanced carrying system rather than a beast of burden hunched under a sack. That same principle is what modern hikers and ultralight backpackers rely on today. The adjustable shoulder harnesses, chest straps and load-bearing belts found on contemporary packs trace their roots directly to those World War I field innovations. The army wasn't trying to create hiking gear, they were solving a survival problem. But in the process, they built the template for the modern backpack. Another leap came with the introduction of the soldier's mess kit. The compact all-metal cooking system was designed to serve multiple purposes: cooking, eating and storage, all in one small set of tins. The U. Inside, soldiers carried a frying pan, plate and cutlery that nested together perfectly. It was lightweight, durable and endlessly reusable. To heat their meals, soldiers often relied on small folding trench stoves, fueled by solidified alcohol tablets or bits of coal scrounged from supply trains. The British Tommy cooker was a primitive but ingenious example, a compact metal can that burned jelly fuel hot enough to boil water or fry a ration tin. It wasn't efficient by modern standards, but it really represented the first step toward what would become portable camp stoves used by hikers, scouts and mountaineers for the next century. Anyone familiar with a modern Esbit stove or alcohol burner will, I think, recognize the lineage immediately. These lightweight systems, designed to pack flat and run on simple fuels, are direct descendants of the soldier's trench stove. The concept of carrying your heat source, cookware and fuel in one compact unit began not in the wilderness, but actually in the mud of Europe's battlefields. If you want to replicate that efficiency today, well, you might try setting up a minimal kit inspired by World War I principles. Just a single small pan, 1 cup, a folding stove and a metal water bottle can honestly cover your cooking, drinking and heating needs for days. The lesson is really quite clear. Simplicity equals survivability. Before synthetic sleeping bags and ultralight tents, World War I soldiers relied on wool blankets, oilcloths and ground sheets to form makeshift shelters. The British Army's ground sheet, for instance, could serve as both a waterproof mat and a rain cape. When combined with a second soldier's sheet, it became a rudimentary tent. Quite the clever solution, wouldn't you say? This flexibility was a hallmark of early field design. Gear wasn't just single-purpose. It adapted to the conditions. Really, quite an ingenious approach. That improvisational spirit carried over into post-war exploration. Adventurers returning from the front brought with them knowledge of how to build compact, multifunctional shelter systems. Fascinating, isn't it? Many early camping and scouting manuals of the 1920s and 30s featured modified versions of army tents and gear layouts, emphasizing that survival didn't require luxury, just smart design. Today's tarp shelters, bivy bags and modular tents all follow the same logic. Lightweight gear that adapts to different situations, rain, wind or cold, owes its DNA to those battlefield experiments. To apply this in practice, try replacing complex tent systems with a simple tarp setup. Learn to tie guy lines and use your surroundings for shelter support, just as soldiers did between shell craters and trenches. Food in the trenches was hardly glamorous, but it was, well, practical. Soldiers learned to rely on concentrated calorie-dense rations that could be eaten on the move or heated quickly. Hardtack biscuits, canned meats and compressed tea and sugar cakes became the forerunners of today's energy bars and freeze-dried meals. The concept was to carry maximum nutrition with minimum bulk, a principle every modern backpacker follows. The American Reserve ration of 1917, for example, contained 12 ounces of bacon, 2 8-ounce cans of hard bread, and a packet of coffee, sugar, and salt. It wasn't designed for comfort, it was designed for endurance. Those lessons, really shaped how expedition planners, mountaineers, and even astronauts later approached food logistics. In your next outdoor adventure, well, think like a First World War soldier. Pack dense, non-perishable food that fuels your body efficiently. The principle of carrying simple, ready-to-eat, energy-rich rations remains, honestly, one of the most practical survival lessons from the Great War. The modern backpacker's creed, to travel light, use versatile tools and respect the land, was really born in the same crucible that forged the First Global War. After 1918, military surplus gear just flooded the civilian market, and former soldiers brought their fieldcraft right into civilian life. They taught people how to travel efficiently, pack smartly, and rely on what they carried. The early outdoor movement, scouting, mountaineering, and camping, borrowed directly from this mindset. If you strip away the modern fabrics and gadgets, backpacking today is, well, really the same art that World War I soldiers mastered under fire. Carrying what you need to live, and nothing more. It's a philosophy that, rewards preparation, resourcefulness, and respect for nature's harsh realities. For the serious history buff or survivalist, studying the World War I camp kit isn't just an exercise in nostalgia, it's honestly an education in efficiency. Every piece of equipment was born out of necessity and tested in conditions most modern adventurers will never face. So, the next time you pack a rucksack, fire up a stove, or crawl into a sleeping bag, remember the men who carried their world on their backs across the battlefields of Europe. Their innovations still shape the way we move through wilderness and endure the elements. If you found this exploration into the roots of modern backpacking valuable, don't forget to subscribe to Echoes of Valor for more deep dives into the forgotten technologies and survival lessons of the past. Share this with a fellow history enthusiast. Because the past doesn't just echo, it equips us for the future.